Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DevDive, a conversational podcast where we take a deep dive into the world of indie game development and uncover the stories behind the games that we love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Andy, we're doing it. We're back in the groove, the DevDive groove. How does it feel? How does it feel to be in the chair?
This is a good ass game. This is a good ass game.
It's a good ass
get
game.
back at the groove with.
This is true.
I was playing it last night for many hours. This is a good ass game.
Sure is. What game are we talking about? Oh, you'll find out soon enough. We're going to introduce on this week's dive our guest, Jack Breen, solo developer of Gigasord, a 2D retro-inspired Metroidvania in which you wield a massive sword with massive weight, huge weight. Some say girth. Jack, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. We all fell in love with your game at PAX East this year. It won an award, and
it did.
It won. Which Metroidvania, was that the one? I forgot.
Best solo dev.
Solo dev. That's right. So congratulations for that, because that's a huge honor to get that from Indie Rift. Obviously, huge honor.
There's a lot of solo devs at PAX as well.
There was this year. Yeah, a lot of solo and like 2-man teams. You know, 2-person teams. There's a lot of fun stuff like that. Yeah. But yes, we're talking, of course, about Gigasord. We want to hear all about its development and everything like that. But before we jump into the dev dive, the deep dive, the conversation you're all here for, we just want to tell you a little bit about us. We are Indie Rift. We are all about indie gaming news, reviews, previews, interviews, all kind of views, and we want yours. So if you could hit that subscribe button, that would be really appreciated. If you want to, if you're watching on YouTube and you'd rather listen as a podcast, we are on all podcast services. Just search for Indie Rift or DevDive. It'll pop up there. We have 2 other shows, the Indie Rift podcast, and of course we have DevDive Side Table, where we interview tabletop developers. So you can check that show out as well. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you could do so by going to patreon.com/Indie Rift, just like our Patreon producer, Colton the Journeyman Nestler. We cannot continue to grow without all of your support, so we do appreciate if you go over there, and just $1 gets you bonus content every week and also gets you into our Discord channel where you can hang out with us and our indie dev guests and talk all sorts of video games. And honestly, the people in there have become friends over the years. I interact with that server, I think, more than I interact with my own family. So, it's an awesome place to hang out and learn about the newest indie games. Jack, we're here. We're about to do it. But Andy, I'm going to kick it to you, buddy, for our ceremonial lead-off question of the show.
I did not have one up until 2 minutes ago while you're going through your whole sales pitch spiel.
Yep.
And then it came to me. It came to me instantly.
Like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah. Jack, when do you know that your game title warrants to be all caps? How do you know? What's the feeling one gets that says, you know what, this game, it's not meant for lowercase letters?
See, this is actually going back to the character of Xavier that was just previously introduced. That was actually his idea. That was an Akipara idea. So I'm not sure if I know the answer, because before they came on board, it was capital G, Giga, and then capital S. That was how I was spelling it. And then they came to me, they were like, do you want to keep it that way, or you want to go all caps? Because like, we're thinking all caps fits the logo that you've drawn. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. So that's kind of how that came to be. But right before you guys were introduced to the game, it actually was a different story.
Wow, look at that.
We talk often about the pitfalls and the dangers of having a publisher be involved with your game development, and this is a really good case study of how an overbearing no, I'm kidding.
How the publisher comes in and they just
changes everything.
Like, this is not what I envisioned. Like, even the title's wrong.
They came in and they took all my lowercase letters. I'll never see them again. But honestly, I think it's a good change. Giga is a big word, it's
I gotta say, if that's all a publisher wants to change or suggest to change, I think you're in really good shape.
The funny thing about this is that I think that is literally the only thing they have asked me to change.
And it works. Makes total sense.
Indeed. So Jack, why don't you give us the kind of elevator pitch? What is Gigasword and why is it awesome?
So Gigasword is, I call it an action puzzle Metroidvania. As development has gone on, I have begun to refer to it also as a Zelda-like, because of the heavy puzzle focus, as well as the way that the world kind of feels like a something I kept saying at PAX East was the world feels like a bunch of Zelda dungeons that are all interconnected into one world. Um, so Zelda has obviously been a ginormous inspiration. It's maybe been the biggest inspiration for me for this game. But going to the kind of main mechanic of it, Gigasword is a game where you have a huge sword and it weighs you down. And the main idea of the whole thing is that you can put this sword down anywhere at any time, and when you're not holding it, you can jump higher because you don't weigh as much. That idea came to me, I want to say in like 2017, and I didn't start working on the game until 2019. I kind of just put it in the back pocket and just thought, okay, that's a concept that I think I can do something with, but I'll figure it out later. And when I started working on the game, I just slowly and but surely came up with all these different things that idea could apply to, like you guys have seen the blocks that you stick the sword into and it raises it up, and then you've got the platforms that you use that crank to crank the sword across a chasm or something like that. um, and so I just kept coming up with more and more environmental mechanics that the sword could be used with in that way. And the game, I always had the overarching concept for what the game would be on the whole, but it really came into itself, I would say maybe a year or two into development. I kind of really figured out where it was going.
Back in 2017, when you conceived of this main mechanic, were you playing something that inspired that, or was it just like a random thought that popped in your brain and you just put it on paper and saved it for later?
So my joke is that I like to credit one of my best friends for this. I like to say that he came up with the whole concept for the game. That he's the reason I'm doing this whole thing. We were in his dorm, and he said somebody should make a platformer where you play as a character with a Buster Sword, because his argument was that he feels like he's barely seen that. But that was all that he said. He didn't say anything about the weight of the sword or anything like that. He just said, I think he maybe said jokingly to me, he was like, "Hey, you should go can you get on this? Can you make something like that?" Um, but the no, honestly, that main mechanic came to me as soon as he said that, and I think it's just because I've always wanted to make something Zelda inspired for my first real game. I kind of always knew that was the direction I was going to end up going in, just because it's just what I've always wanted to make. And so I think my brain was kind of already wired to look at it from a puzzle aspect, because to me it just seemed like, well, just to make a game that has combat with a big sword, of course that's going to be cool, but I just feel like there's not enough there for me as a developer to get interested in. So yeah, that was where the idea came to me, and I made a quick prototype just to kind of like have the idea down somewhere. And then, yeah, like I said, it was probably 2 years later that I really leaned into it.
Given this game's core mechanic of, abandoning your sword to reach greater heights or go to a different part of the map to clear a path to retrieve your sword and go to the next room, for example, does that mean one of the most tried and true basic bitch power ups in any Metroidvania, the double jump, will not be in this game?
There is no legitimate double jump in the game, but there are a few different ways that you can get a lot higher up than you would think you could from what you've seen in the demo.
Interesting.
Right. Okay.
I wonder what. Okay, I'm trying to picture this. And you throw the sword into a wall and then jump up and jump off the sword.
That is I had that in the game in 2017. The original idea was that you could stick it on the floor like you can, and then you could also stick it into the wall. You could like shove it horizontally or above you, and I scrapped those other two ideas because it just wasn't working. But yeah, originally you were going to be able to put the sword like in the wall and then stand on it. I guess that didn't work because then you're only getting up like as high as you could jump anyway. I had this other idea where like he could stick it
Right.
above himself, and you were gonna be on like a bridge, and the bridge kept like falling out from under you like on a timer. So you would have to run across the bridge, and then when it was about to fall, you would stick the sword in the ceiling and hang from it. And then when the bridge came back, you
Oh,
let
that'd be
go again.
cool. Oh,
But
yeah,
that was
would...
the only idea that I came up with for that mechanic, so I
Yeah.
just let go of it. But it's funny that you say that, because yeah, that was in mind for a while.
So that's funny how like right there we're learning a little bit about game development right off the bat. Like you had an idea, you workshopped it. How long did you go from testing that mechanic out, that traversal mechanic for the sword sticking in the wall, sticking inside? How long does it take you to conceive, program, test it out? Like how much of your development time was put into until you realized it's not working?
For this game specifically, that was probably only like a week,
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately I didn't lose too much time. It wasn't like I built out this whole demo of the game that had that or anything like that.
Yeah.
There was another, Ezra used to have a slingshot when he was not holding the sword, and that was actually in the game for quite a while. And I did that I did do plenty of artwork for and plenty of programming for, and I just totally threw it in the trash because I realized if you could still hurt the enemies when you didn't have the sword, then why not just put the sword down at the beginning of every room so that you're more agile and then you can still kill stuff. So
True,
I just
yeah.
got rid of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, it's funny. Like you mentioned a lot of Zelda influences and the dungeons and such, but when I was playing this game, I get like Soul Reaver vibes a little
That
bit
is
from
awesome, dude. I love Soul Reaver. You're the first person who said that.
There's, on the one hand, the sword is like it's your companion throughout the entire journey. It's with you. It solves your puzzles and all of that. It's always at your side. And there's something about using your sword as a key to unlock doors that is so Soul Reaver.
Yeah,
I was like,
absolutely. It's funny.
I love this vibe right now.
I had never played Soul Reaver 2 until just recently when they put out those remasters.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had grown up with the first one. But Soul Reaver is actually what I was referencing the most when I was writing the story for this game, because the Nocturne, those owl characters, they're very wise and intelligent and stuff. So I wanted them to speak as fancy as I could get them to. So I was going back and watching all those cutscenes and listening to like Kane when he talks and everything, and I'm like flipping through my thesaurus trying to like construct
so many SAT words in that guy's dialogue.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think in my freshman year of college, like I had so many words in my initial like English courses papers that my professor was like, "Where did you learn all these words?" I was like, Metal Gear and Soul Reaver. That's where I learned most of my big words from. Like words like transgression.
Yeah.
Or like bravado. I learned that shit from Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But also, it's a funny because like Soul Reaver is a Metroidvania. Folks don't give it that credit. It's a 3D action platforming game, puzzles, but a lot of it's an open world, and you can access the map as you devour your siblings' powers and you keep going forward. So it's also kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my hot take that I've recently been trying to spread around is that I believe that Zelda games are just Metroidvanias. Like I believe that Zelda-Likes and Metroidvanias are pretty much the same thing, other than maybe the dungeons, So I don't know, maybe I'll make like some sort of YouTube video essay on that at some point when I've thought about it a bit more. But
I am into that. I'm so
awesome.
into that.
I missed the Soul Reaver train unfortunately as I really for no reason except probably money. Like honestly, that's probably the only reason.
That's like poetry. It's like video game poetry.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess I'll poet it or whatever. Don't have to make me feel bad about myself.
We would both recommend the remaster is great. I would say also visually it's one of the best remasters because I feel like a lot of these remasters that they're doing, especially of games like from that era, like PS1 specifically, they always just lose the vibe, like, so another one of my favorite PS1 games is Medieval with, Dan Fortescue, the skeleton guy. Yeah. And the remaster is great, but I also just feel like I love how literally how dark the original game is. Like the skybox is always just pure black, and there's just a lot of like, because they couldn't render anything, so there's always just like black distance fog surrounding you, and it just felt kind of creepy, even though it was supposed to be like a silly Halloween game. Like it did legitimately creep me out when I was a small child playing it. And then the remaster is just like very, very beautiful, but kind of ditches that vibe, that like low quality vibe, and
they lose the charm a little bit in
yeah,
that transition, which is why I appreciate how in these current remasters, at least for the like Soul Reaver and Tomb Raider, also there's that toggle between the classic and the current visual upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that I think I like that option.
I haven't
I
played the
could be
Tomb Raider.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, the Tomb Raider remasters I've been meaning to pick up because I love the original games as well. Yeah, it looked like those ones they did a better job at like keeping the vibe.
Speaking of the vibe, let's talk. You're a solo developer, so that means, ladies and gentlemen, all the hats are being worn by Jack. That includes the artistic direction of this game. Where did this come? So did you have prior experience making this kind of art? Is this like your first time going into it? Because it's absolutely gorgeous, and the animations are like butter and just haunting to watch, like hauntingly beautiful to watch. Tell us a little bit about that, the artistic direction.
Well, I appreciate that greatly. Yeah, I mean, I grew up as an artist. I've been, drawing, and I was the kid in school that used to just flip the worksheets over and just draw on the back and not do the work. So I've that's kind of just where my background comes from. Pixel art specifically, I've been doing for, I guess it's been maybe 10 years now.
What does that mean? Like doing pixel art, like for what? Like and how? Or is there a program, or do you use MS Paint and just like learn how the pixels come together? Because I've always wondered, like, how you learn something like that, and like where you can practice that skill.
I think so I use Game Maker Studio, and I think in the beginning of my game development career, which so I started actually like trying to make games when I was in my junior year of high school.
Okay.
As a kid, I've wanted to be a game developer my entire life. I would say probably since I was like 4 years old. So as a kid, I was always designing games like on paper and drawing characters and writing stories and stuff. But I didn't actually begin programming and making games literally until high school. And Game Maker is all that I've ever used. It was just kind of the first thing that I was introduced to, so I just stuck with it. Game Maker has a built-in sprite editor in the software. I think I might have used that in the beginning. I use a software called Sprite now. It's for anyone looking to seriously make pixel art, I would always recommend it. It's pretty cheap, and it's just got a ton of features. It's great, super easy to use. In terms of like how I got into the style of it, I mean, I just gave it my best shot back when I was in high school. And I mean, looking back by my standards today, my sprites were not very good at all. But it took that many years to get decent at it. Like the sprites that I'm making now are nothing in the past ever looked like that. I kind of just picked up tips and information slowly along the way. And I watched some tutorials about color theory and stuff. I feel like a lot of the best knowledge that I gained for pixel art came from observing the art that was, I mean, I just love pixel art games. Shovel Knight is one of my favorite games of all time. There's a ton of inspiration from that game in this one. And after I started working on Gigasword, I would play Shovel Knight to stare at the backgrounds and try to figure out what was going on, because they do that so well in that game. And I knew that there had to be some sort of knowledge that I can gain from just observing the way that they set the levels up. Something really cool about that game and plenty of other games that do it correctly is that you can always perfectly tell what's in the foreground and what's in the background. And what that is, at least in Shovel Knight, is that the backgrounds are usually monochromatic. It's like, I can't think of a specific example, but like You know, you might have it be, it's like all blue or something like.
Yeah.
So I do this in Gigasword all the time. Like you'll walk into a room where it's like this cave and it's all drawn in shades of blue, but like when you look at it, it still makes sense. Like you can kind of see what colors things would really be. Your brain kind of fills in the rest. But that helps to just push everything back, and then everything in the foreground that you can actually interact with is what uses like the brightest colors to really let your brain know what where the danger is coming from and what you don't need to worry about.
You also use color to mimic light in a very cool way, especially in the background. Like you have on one of your screens, you have like a brick wall in the background that is gray. Behind that is black, just solid black. And then in there somewhere is like that red tree, right? So it's giving you a depth of field right there. And then you have this streak of like a beam of sunlight that comes through, and where it's touching the tree, it's not getting brighter, it's just getting orange. So you have it going orange, and then it goes to gray through the black, and then black through the gray, kind of almost, kind of as it's like falling behind it. It's very interesting. Like, and I guess that's where it comes to with the color theory, right? Like knowing which colors are opposite which, you can do some really fun things with light, really, with just color.
Yeah, for sure. I was also inspired by I see a lot of stuff on Twitter of people making games that have like limited color palettes. So that's what I did with Gigasword. Like Gigasword, I think only has, I was originally gonna have it only be maybe like 24 colors or something. And I think now it's up to, I'd be lying if I knew off the top of my head. It might be up to 30 or 32 or something like that. But like, there aren't a
I'll
lot of
count
colors
now
in
while
this
you
game.
do the
So
thing.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's that aspect of it. The reason I did that was because it just would fit the retro feel of the game, but I also was excited for it to force the backgrounds to kind of have some of those unique hues to them, because I really like that look.
Yeah, and also we can add that the attention put into the graphics and the art style is echoed in the gameplay as well. I mean, this is more than just a guy with a big ass sword swinging it like a barbarian. There's an upgrade tree for your sword as you collect little currency as you slay enemies across the world. I gotta thank you for one really awesome gameplay thing you did, and it's how you know like an actual gamer put this game together. Um, there's no hitbox per se. If you touch enemies, they don't. There's no collision for damage. It's only their attacks cause damage to the player, and it's like, thank fuck someone gets it.
Yeah, you and my older brother would get along perfectly because that was
Oh my
his idea.
god.
He would always say, just all the time when we were growing up, and he still says it now. He's like, I hate these games where you can't like touch the enemies, like, and you know, I think for some games it makes perfect sense, like in something like Mega Man or whatever, like, or Mario, but for this, especially because you are kind of naturally encumbered the whole game. Like Ezra's not a very, you know, you don't swing the sword that fast. He can't dodge that fast if he's holding it. So like I had to do something to give the players some sort of, you know, edge against the enemies and just make it a bit, you know, a bit more fair. So I think for this game specifically, it definitely fits.
And with these giant like screen filling bosses too, it just makes the
Yeah,
most
like
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I'm just gonna say something a little controversial right now. I think if you're gonna have turtles with spikes on their back that do the same thing as the turtles without spikes on their back, then what's the point? Really,
Right.
honestly, if you could just walk into their face and get hurt the same way, then I know you can't jump on them, but still, it's the same thing. Um, and also, you have a big sword. Why aren't they getting hurt when they walk into you? All right, you know what I
Well,
mean?
that's what I'm saying.
If I had a giant sword, that's what would happen for sure. I'd be poking everybody with that thing, with my Gigasword.
So what does the progression look like for Ezra on his journey? You know, has his basic giant ass sword, gets stronger. What is the Metroidvania bits that make it that define a Metroidvania, those qualities? What can we look forward to in Gigasword?
So the skill tree that you guys have seen that's actually all optional stuff. Those are just like different
Mm-hmm.
spells and attacks that you can get. Um, but then there are also like mech style items. Like I would say that's like equipment or whatever term you could use. So you'll get the charge attack at one point, and then you can break down certain walls that you couldn't break before. A lot of the items are actually gemstones that slot into the sword, and there's kind of a story reason for why that is. But so you'll get so you might have seen during the demo there are these like purple blocks on the ground that don't do anything, and eventually you get the amethyst gemstone, and when you slot that into the sword, you can interact with those. And what those do is they kind of act like these, it's not a trampoline, it's like a boost pad. It's like you stick the sword in it and then it rockets you up, it like shoots you up like super high up, so that you and your sword can get really high. The trade-off is that you can only do that where these blocks are on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of, yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. There are only a couple upgrades that I haven't shown off. There is a grappling hook that comes much later in the game, so I've been kind of, I haven't wanted to show too much of that because I don't want people to think like, oh, it's a grappling hook game, because it's really like you have to wait like a long time before you get to that part of the game. But yeah, there are a lot of things that will, I would say, drastically alter the way that you are able to move around the world, and that's kind of how you're able to access the other areas.
Now, are these gemstones by any chance referred to as materia in the game that you can slot into your Buster Sword?
Your giant Buster Sword.
I believe that we are short on Cloud Strife references in Gigasword,
Oh,
but
I see.
I'll double check
I
for
mean,
you.
how do you like just not fill them with a
Well,
bunch of puns and
that's the funny thing, is that everybody thinks that I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan and or a Berserk fan. I'm
right?
not
Yes,
a fan of
right.
either of those.
Mhm.
I had never engaged with any Berserk content until like I was halfway through development on this game. I knew what it was, I just never looked into it. Then I watched I've seen the Golden Age movies. I thought they were sick. I thought they were awesome. But I've been
Mhm.
meaning to actually sit down and like read the whole manga because I think the art from that series is beautiful. Um, I've never been a I never really got into Final Fantasy. I know we had 7 for the PlayStation growing up. I remember watching my brother play through it a little bit, but I've actually never gone back and played it myself.
That's so wild looking at this game, this character's like design and the swords. Like, how are you not a fan of FF7?
Because I'm a Soul Calibur fan.
There it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, Soul Calibur is big swords. There's some big swords in there.
Though I will say, no matter how this game turns out, I mean, it's gonna be amazing. But the fact that it opened up the world of Berserk to you, I think, is the greatest takeaway because that is an amazing,
Yeah,
amazing series.
I really want to get
Well
those
worth all your
hardcover
time.
books that they've been putting out. Yeah,
Well worth all your 7+ years of game development.
Goodness.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
yeah.
That's it. That if you could hang your hat on that. Akupara, you did it. Money well spent.
They made one more new Berserk fan. Yes.
Yeah, they did it. They did it. Count it.
Now, I just gleamed a shot of Ezra feeding a carrot to a little bunny sprite.
Mhm.
Is that like a little side questy thing? What's
So
that about?
yeah, so he is a hidden character. There's a bunny hidden in each area of the game.
I
Um,
love it.
the way that you increase your health in Gigasword, which you guys may have seen during the demo, is there are 5 feathers in each area.
Mhm.
That's like pieces of heart from Zelda. It's like so the monastery has 5 emerald feathers, the garden has 5 sapphire feathers, whatever it is. So if you find all 5 in an area, then you offer them up to the save point and you get one more permanent health point. But if you find the bunny, so if you find him on his own and then you pet him, you can sit in that room and pet him, and your health will refill while you're doing that.
Oh, nice.
But if you
That's so
find the
cute.
carrot, so the carrot is a separate secret that you have to find, and if and
Oh.
the carrots are usually like the most well hidden, hardest secret to find in each area. If you find one and then you feed that to the bunny, you will also get another point on your health. So in every area, there are 2 new health points that you can acquire.
That is so
Ooh.
cool.
The
See,
the
this is
feathers are a bit
why.
easier, and then the bunny is supposed to be like the really secret, really hard one.
See, this is again another staple of the Metroidvania, just like jam packed with secrets and like just encouraging exploration, every nook and cranny. Like have that percentage maxed out at the top corner of the screen. I hate it so much because it bothers my brain. There's a little square missing on the map, but ugh, so good.
Wall carrots. Wall carrots.
Exactly.
That is the answer to that question. There wasn't a question. Whatever.
But when there is, the answer will
The
be
answer will be wall carrots.
Whenever a question is asked, the answer will always inevitably be wall carrots.
Let's talk a little bit about the music because it kicks ass. And
Thank you.
I do want to apologize to our listeners and viewers who got a very loud treat to the music because when I went to switch to the other video on Steam, it unmuted and now I can't show you any video because it keeps playing the music by default. So, and it just blows out my ear holes. Awesome sound. Is that also by you?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. How does
Solo devs, dude?
How does one? Okay, all right, okay. So, settle something for me. So you're clearly an artist. Like that's clearly like probably your like if you were to describe yourself on paper, like one thing you are is artist. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, okay. To me, that is a skill, a natural skill that you were born with in some way that you then refined over the years. It is a talent, as it were. It is a talent that you have that you then refined to be more skillful in. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of an age-old question. It's like, are people born good at artwork, or are they born good at instruments, or are there just people that are born with the passion for those things, and then that's why they get good at them? I'm not sure if I know what the answer is myself. I mean, I can confidently say, like, I have been just as interested in art my whole life. Like, I've always loved drawing, but I certainly was not always good at it, in my opinion, at least. I mean, I think I was always good for my age. Like when I was 8 years old, I was definitely drawing better than other 8-year-olds, but like it still, maybe it looked as good as what the average like 13-year-old would draw, which looking back certainly wasn't going to win any awards or anything. But so I'm not sure if I know if it's nature or nurture.
I mean, but then there's music, and now you're composing. Whether chip tunes, regardless of what is making the sound, you're composing that sound to make a kick-ass soundtrack. Like, how did you learn that? Like, what went into that skill set? Because that is not the same. That is very different than downloading or figuring out pixel art. And like, I mean, I guess it's akin to learning how to animate pixel art, maybe a little bit. But yeah, what did you use to learn that? Did anybody have to teach you? Is it just, did you go to YouTube University? Like, how does one learn these skills? I does not comprehend.
Yeah, YouTube University is absolutely where I learned how to program. And it's where I learned.
That's the hardest one.
Yeah. No, okay, so to go back to what you originally
That's all
said,
numbers. That's all numbers in code.
Right, yeah. I will say, like composing music has I mean, I've definitely gotten better at that too, but that seemed to be something that I was actually just kind of always able to do. Not to toot my own horn, of course, but
you're a
my
solo
first time-
developer and you're talking about your game. You can toot your horn.
Okay.
You could toot your chip tune horn all you want.
Sure.
This whole show is a toot fest.
Yeah.
So
Toot away, my friend. Toot away, Jack.
My first time composing music, this is a very obscure reference. I had a game called WarioWare DIY on the DS. Does that mean anything to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or what about Mario Paint? If you don't know WarioWare, do you know Mario Paint?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Then
We all know Mario Paint. Same idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
The
this game
precursor.
on the DS, it had a music tracker, like a very primitive music maker tool in it. And so I started just making music on that thing because I mean I played the piano growing up. I never took formal lessons. I just had a Casio keyboard that was essentially one of my favorite toys, or ways to pass the time. So um so I was always kind of making up melodies, I suppose. But yeah, that was my first time like writing these little songs and putting them together. And I remember showing my older brother, and at that age I would have been maybe 12, or I don't know how old I would have been, probably around that age. And he was like, "How are you able to do that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know. I just did it." But no, I always love talking about the soundtrack for Gigasord because making music is one of my absolute favorite parts of development. And in terms of the chiptune, my chiptune story, that I got into in high school as well. And the software I use is called FamiTracker, and it is the software used. That was what they used to make the music for Shovel Knight. So
Yep.
that was how I
Right.
found that software, and I was like, oh, I have to play with this because I've always loved chiptunes. So I figured, I was like, okay, this will be an easy, much less expensive way to get into music production than like buying all these VSTs and DAWs and instruments and stuff like that. But no, I mean, I just, some of my absolute favorite game soundtracks of all time are chiptune. I love Mega Man music. I love Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project specifically. I will
Oh
shout
my
that game out
God.
anytime I get the chance.
Holy shit.
Yes, yeah. There you go.
So good.
Yeah. That's on. I play 1, 2, and 3 soundtrack all the time. There's there's an artist on Spotify called The Greatest Bits, and he does like not fully orchestrated or it's chip tunes but like HD. Like that's the best way I would explain it. And he's got probably well over 100 like different albums. Like he does Zelda, he does Metal Gear, he does like all these things. And my favorite one he ever did was the Ninja Turtles. It was 1, 2, and 3, all like basically all the songs from that, like straight through, like 13 tracks. It's one of my favorite listens.
I'll have to check it out, yeah, because I love those soundtracks. I haven't played the second game, but I've listened to the music from that one. I really love that one too.
I think we have a project we need to do, Andy.
Man, that Super Shredder fight in the Manhattan Project still gives me chills to this day. Ugh. He breaks the little mutagen canister over his head.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And that's like post like Secret of the Ooze in theaters. So seeing that in the game really I was shooketh. As a
man, you got Tokar and Razor and stuff. It's like,
yeah, man.
That was it. That was the
and
deal.
it wasn't an arcade game port like the part 2 was for the NES. It was an original like sequel they made for the NES.
I would say hands down my favorite moment from the game is probably when it's just the water dripping in the sewer right before that boss fight.
Oh yes.
Is that Leatherhead?
Yeah.
When the music cuts out and it's like, oh no, like something terrible is gonna happen.
Slowly.
So
and
good.
then like he goes like off camera, then like the music stops.
Yeah.
He comes back. Oh, that's the dirtbag fight. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's the mole character. He's in the mine cart. He's going off the camera, and then it's like the boss track like fades in and out as he's coming on and off the screen.
Yeah, Leatherhead, he pops out,
man,
and like
who are your guys' turtles of choice?
Okay, no, don't answer, Andy. Jack, I want you to guess.
I'm gonna say Andy is gonna be Donatello, and you're gonna be Raphael.
Nailed it!
He nailed it!
Really?
Nailed it! Absolutely nailed it, mate. My guy.
Nice!
Absolutely nailed it.
Goodness!
I peg you as a Leonardo, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
I peg you as a Leonardo. Why? So just out of curiosity, like aside from the fact that Andy's wearing glasses, why is Donnie your go-to for him? Because I have very different reasons, I think, than most people.
Oh, I think it's easy. I know the answer.
Because Andy is soft-spoken and he clearly has an appreciation for the martial arts.
There it is.
Clearly, I would
And
argue all four
and
turtles do, but whatever.
Well, I feel like only
And-
someone that really gets martial arts would pick the weapon that doesn't have like the blade on it. Like I think other lesser educated people would be like, oh, I'm not going to pick just the stick. What's going on with that? But
Well, like the whole reason Splinter gave him a bow staff was because he knew he was smart enough to figure out how to make it just as deadly and as effective as the other weapons.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
and he gave Raphael the sais because sais are meant for disarming, not offense. And Raph has an anger issue, and he's always running in and not thinking about what he's doing. So he gave him a defensive weapon.
Yeah.
And he gave Michelangelo a very flashy weapon because Michelangelo has an attention deficit disorder and can't focus on anything. So if he gives him fidget spinners, he could kind of figure it out. And of course, Leo is the only one with a truly disciplined weapon that you need to, learn an actual discipline for.
Is this your
No, it's canon. It's canon.
What is this from one of the movies or?
It was actually it might have been from the new one, right?
The movies had them using salami sticks and yo-yos as weapons.
No.
Dump we're getting from Steve is not from the
I meant the newest movie, the new cartoon one that came out a few years ago. I don't remember if it was there, or I think it might have been an interview with Laird that I picked that up. I don't remember exactly, but I'll it doesn't matter. But folks, you could Google it and look it up for yourself. But yeah. Just some turtles trivia here for the Gigasword interview.
Why
just
not?
a little turtle knowledge. Oh God, why?
I'm already learning so much.
Why did it just autoplay? All right, I'm closing Steam. You're not getting any more B-roll, people. No more B-roll. You're out of B-roll. That's it. Scary ass shit popping up, playing your awesome chip tunes. So did any of the songs that you were playing when you were 12, 13, 14 years old make it into Gigasword?
So that's a funny question. No, but there are songs in Gigasword that I wrote back in. So I actually just right now I'm working on like the cutscenes and stuff like that, and I'm adding in. There are a couple of bosses that have their own unique boss themes, and for one of the characters, I am using a song that I wrote in, I think it was 2016. It was just always one of my favorite themes. It was originally meant for a top-down Zelda style game that I never ended up finishing. But yeah, that song just to me stood the test of time, and so I wanted to use it. Most of the music in this game has been written specifically for Gigasword, so it's been written, within the last 4 years or 5 years or so. The music that you guys would have heard in the demo, specifically once you're inside the tower, once you're in like the actual Metroidvania section, that music was for a different Zelda style game, not the other one, but a second one. You can see I kept doing this until it finally worked out. So yeah, there's music from 2016. There's music from, I would say, probably 2018, and then there's stuff that's brand new.
Fantastic. I just love how like you clearly wanted to make a Zelda game. And because you believe in your own reality that Zelda games are also Metroidvania games, this game is a Metroidvania by virtue of your worldview.
Yeah, the other times that I tried to do it, it was always top down. This was the first side scroller platformer that I tried to make. Yeah, I would say really what I was excited to do was make dungeons. So that was kind of where the approach came to this game. Like this game was meant to be a Metroidvania, but I just also knew, especially because of the idea for the main mechanic, that puzzles were going to be involved. And then so kind of the moment that I had where those ideas clicked together was, well, this should just be a Metroidvania in which the areas feel like Zelda dungeons. And then from there then it made sense, and I was able to run with it. And so far it seems like it's working, so that's good. But
awesome.
And when can we enjoy this future masterpiece? When is it out? That's come soon. When is soon?
The goal is later this year. We're talking about release date now. We don't have anything to formally announce just yet, but there should be an announcement pretty soon.
What are those conversations like? I'm just curious. Like, do they go, so buddy, when do you think you're gonna, or are they like, here's 3 windows for you to pick because we need a game in there? Like, how does that work?
So when I signed on with them, I had to give them, and I mean, this goes for any sort of publisher pitch, I have to give them a timeline for when I think I'm going to be done. And I think for a while, there's some wiggle room accounted for. So let's say you're talking to a publisher in January and you say, I think that I'm going to be done in December so that we can hopefully ship in something like February. Um,
Mm.
right off the get-go, if it's a publisher that knows what they're doing, then they're going to say, okay, look, like, we know how these things go, let's give it like, let's make like a 3-month window for that time. So let's say like it's just accounting for bug fixes and testing and all that stuff. Like, maybe it'll be ready to ship in February, but we should also prepare for it to maybe not be done until like April or May. And so yeah, where we are at right now with Gigasword, I mean, we're pretty much still adhering to the original schedule that I pitched to them, when I signed on with them, which was August of last year. Um, so I came on in August of 2024, and without revealing too much about the release window, I gave them my timeline for how soon I thought I would be done. We have extended it a little bit past that point, just because, for me personally, with this being like my first real game that I've ever released, it's been extremely hard for me to try to, make those accurate estimations about how long certain things will take, because for some of these aspects, like making cutscenes or making complicated boss fights or these cinematics or whatever, like, I've never done this stuff, and I'm not under the impression that I am not able to. It's just a matter of, if I'm figuring out how to do it while I'm doing it, then I clearly have no idea how long it's going to take, especially
Right.
when you get to the programming side of things and you've got, sometimes you just sit down and you write a whole script and then it just doesn't work. And then it was supposed to take 1 day and then it takes 3 days because the whole thing's broken. So it's like, I can say that something is probably going to take a month or 2 months, but like, it's just so hard to, fully commit to that when you know how development naturally goes, of just, that's just where I'm at now as a beginner. But no, Akipara has been super understanding. Everything's been, we haven't gone super off track. I think the schedule that we have laid out is still the schedule that we are on time for. I did kind of have like this burst of anxiety when they actually came to me. It was like 3 weeks ago now, and basically said, hey, we're trying to have a release date trailer by this certain date. So that means that we need to decide on a release date by, a little bit earlier than that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is the conversation. I gotta commit to some date.
It's
And
real. Real.
I was kind of trying to push for a little bit more time, and they kind of like talked me off the ledge. They were like, look, like, you're moving at a decent, the pace that you're moving at is fine. um I know there's a lot that you're scared about, but like, we see this with first time developers all the time. This is just like how it gets. Like, if you just keep doing what you're doing, it's going to be ready on time. Like, there's plenty that we can take care of on our end,
Yeah.
so
I was actually going to ask, like, they're so experienced in this thing. I'm sure they have resources that they can, they could reach out to you and help you out with some of the more finer details, as far as getting the thing out the door. Um, as far as your initial release, you're just going to be on Steam to start, and then maybe some, you have goals for elsewhere. You don't have to confirm anything, but like pie in the sky.
yeah, the goal is all platforms. We don't know the exact details of exactly how it'll be released, but yeah, no, it'll unless something goes drastically wrong, it will definitely be more than just Steam.
Gotcha. All right, now, Jack, we're gonna step away from Gigasword. We're gonna step away from your anxieties as a solo developer, and we're gonna give you a whole new list of questions. Um, it is now time for rapid fire. This is where we get to know you, Jack. Okay, we're gonna ask you questions. You're actually in this camera. We're gonna ask you questions, and you just give us some off the cuff answers. Top of the brain, top of the old dome, situation. And I'm gonna start it off. So, Soul Reaver, right? We were talking about Soul Reaver. We were talking about absorbing your sibling's powers, uh, devouring your sibling. to get their powers. You devoured your brother. What power do you get?
My brother is 300 pounds and he's a professional power lifter.
Shit.
God
So
damn.
I wasn't expecting that.
so yeah, I would get the ability to he just recently squatted 800 in a meet a couple months ago. Hopefully I would get that ability, or maybe I would just get his hair, which is longer than mine. Who knows?
Damn.
All right, so the easy layup follow up. Your brother, who can clearly overpower you, devours you.
Oh, and what does he get?
What power does he get?
He can make chiptune music.
There it is.
Okay. Hey, listen, honestly, great trade. You can lift a car, he can lift
Yeah.
spirits.
Yeah.
You know, I don't hate that. What is the best robot master?
Oh. Okay, well, all right, let me take this opportunity that you've so kindly given me to talk about my favorite game of all time. My favorite Mega Man game and my favorite game is Mega Man Legends.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, there's
Jack.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. So
Jack, let me
Mega
tell you,
Man
Jack.
Juno he's the main boss from the first game. He's sick. To more accurately answer your question, I really love the newer ones that they came out with for the, I guess it was for the Wii at the time. I think that was 9 and 10.
Yeah, those are amazing.
I don't know who I would choose as like my favorite. I don't know. I'm partial to Iceman because I really like his music. I used to play Dr. Wily's Revenge on the Game Boy. So all those bosses specifically kind of stick in my memory the best. Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't have anything to do with like the vibe of the level or the boss themselves. It would absolutely be off the music.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that. I'm not a Mega Man like expert. As a matter of fact, it is widely documented or for years on this podcast that I'm terrible at Mega Man. But I was always partial to Gemini Man. I always liked Gemini Man.
Yeah,
Gemini Man's cool.
That's a good one.
Go ahead, Andy.
I gotta do a quick sidebar about Mega Man Juno, because Mega Man Juno is the most amazing idea for a boss ever, a character. Steven, he is what's known as a bureaucratic model. So we're doing a quick spoiler alert for Legends. The game is like, I would imagine 30 years old at this point. Easily. If you haven't played it, pause, play it, thank me later. So the end game here is that there are too many humans on the Earth, carbons as they're known, and once they reach a certain capacity, they must be unalived.
Right.
And Mega Man Juno, since he's all about bureaucracy, he's like, he can't be reasoned with. He deals in law and logic. And he's like, well, the law says that when we're at this point, they all need to die, Mega Man. So your emotion has no bearing on me or my decision. So he like kills all of humanity when he wants to because the law dictates it. It's the most badass fucking shit ever.
Well, it's so cool because like both those games, especially the sequel, have like, as a kid, I didn't get the story. And because it's one of my favorite games, I usually replay it, I would say every like 4 years or so. And then like I started getting older and I'm like, you know what? I still don't get what's going on. And so like it's just so cool that would come out of Mega Man. And like, you know, there are other Mega Man spin-offs that have fleshed out stories. I'm not saying that it's like, you know, a super dumbed down series or anything, but I would say Mega Man Legends has, in my humble opinion, one of the most profound stories of all time, and it's still, especially in the sequel, it's still something that I feel like I don't fully grasp. Yeah, the second game has one of my favorite quotes of all time. If I try to quote it now, I'll probably mess it up because it's kind of long, but it's when the master is speaking, when he's like, all these people down on Earth know hunger and disease, and they know all these things, but because of that, they know the true meaning of happiness. And compared to theirs, our world is cold and sterile. That's one of my like favorite, like that just explains all of life, and it's just, but it's hidden in this random ass Mega Man spin-off game that like only a fraction of people have played, and like that's so cool to me. Like that's, I don't know, I could talk about it all night.
I'm gonna send you, Jack, when we're done tonight. I was watching I think a 6-hour Legends like lore like analysis.
Yeah.
It's some heavy duty shit. I mean, just to give you a preview, Legends, all the airships have German names, and
Right.
there's a heavy theme of purification or purifying in these games. So we're gonna put that out there.
Yeah. I see where you're going with it.
and and we're gonna move on. But I still wanna kind of pivot a little bit, but kind of also cling to Mega Man Legends. What body part would you give up for Mega Man Legends 3? The game we never got.
How big does the body part have to be? Like, is this a full limb or just like an ear or something?
What would you do? What would
I
you
do.
do?
Yeah,
What if there was
let's-
like a deal with the devil, like sign this contract, sacrifice this thing that means a lot to you for Legends 3? What would that thing be?
All right, you want to hear about the pipe dream that I've had for a few years?
You're gonna make Legends 3. That's your pipe dream.
So I'm gonna release Gigasord. We're gonna get our start in the game dev scene. We're gonna keep making games until Studio Hybrid becomes the next Nintendo or something, and then I'm gonna buy the rights to the series from Capcom, and we're gonna make it ourselves.
Oh my god.
This is not
That's
a
fair.
joke. I have had that idea for the last decade. I'm not even kidding. I'm not saying
We're
it's
gonna-
gonna ever happen, but I'm not making this.
Hey,
This is
man.
not me just making this up off the cuff.
Dude, we're here with you.
I'm okay with that.
You guys are gonna be
Dream big,
dual
man.
executive producers.
Hell yeah,
Fuck yeah.
I'm in. As long as you make one guy like podcast man.
Yeah.
And
You guys get to both create
There's-
bosses for the
Yeah.
so
Wrestle man.
yeah.
Lucha. Oh no, that was, yeah, Andy, you did your thing. It's like I was like, whose turn is it? Oh yeah, it's my turn. Oh man, what was? Oh yeah, so when the game releases, what size yacht do you think you're gonna go for?
Mm,
You think you're gonna go for like a simple 30-footer? You're gonna go a little bigger? What are we thinking?
Okay, my water themed idea is, I mean, a boat would be kind of cool. What I want is to have a house that has a lazy river that goes around the yard.
Oh, like a moat? Yeah.
Well, I want specifically a lazy river that has the floaty things in it.
Yeah,
and the,
yeah.
you know,
No, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
oh, that's
Okay.
really
Like a
neat.
boat is kind of cool, but a lazy river I think is about
Okay.
10 or 12 points cooler.
No
To me,
arguments
I
here.
don't
No arguments here.
All right, let's piggyback off that. So we have the huge success of Gigasord.
Massive
so the
success.
night,
Yeah.
So it gets released. It's like has like 200K concurrent players on Steam day one. You know, you're drinking, having a great time. You black out.
Uh-oh.
You know, huge celebration, and then you get a call the next day from the authorities. Hey, Jack, you got to come in. You got to answer some questions for us. What do you think they're gonna ask you? What do you think you did?
What'd you do? What'd you do, man?
I blacked out after the release of Gigasord, and we
you
had a
blacked
massive
out.
party.
Gigasword's out. It's a success, massive. You're celebrating. You're drinking, having a grand old time. You black
Oh,
out,
okay.
wake up.
Okay,
something-
this is
something
easy.
happened.
This is easy.
What?
Someone here's
I
what
love
clearly
making things easy.
happened is that someone was such a big fan that they blacksmithed a real Gigasword and gave it to me as a gift at the party. And then I said, "This is awesome," and I like swung it through the coffee maker and whatever, and I'm putting it through the microwave, and it's like the fridge door is hanging off, and then they're like, we have to like do something about this, and I'm like, you don't have to do anything about this, and then like there are just like slash marks through like people's homes, and there would probably be no standing mailboxes left. That would be the big thing because they don't like it when you mess with people's mail, so that would be an issue. But
that
but I wouldn't
sounds
have
like-
any regrets about it.
At some point, that would devolve into like a scene from Final Destiny.
Yeah.
Just some guy coming home from
Just
like
a guy with a big sword, like you just swinging around, and eventually some heads get lopped off.
yeah,
Yeah.
seeing a vision of a jolly drunk going down with a 7-foot sword.
But it would
into
be like
people's
the
heads.
worst Final Destination film because it would have to be like 5 hours long because the first 4 hours just show me making the whole game for the last 6 years. Just so that it explains why all of that is happening.
That's some Black Mirror shit.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy had an idea for a game in 2016 or 2020, whatever it was.
The
And
year 20XX, he thought of a game.
and now he's on a rampage because someone gave him a Gigasword. I mean, it's very presumptuous of you that you would think you'd be able to swing a Gigasword.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in the lore, the sword is actually made of like this lightweight steel, so that I don't know if I've explained this, but it's a nocturne sword. So those big owl guys.
Mhm.
Okay, so the owls live in the tower. They're all like 7 or 8 feet tall. So those are their swords. That's why the sword is as big as it is.
Sure.
So as Ezra is using a nocturne sword throughout the game, and there's a reason for that has to do with the story, obviously. But yeah, my kind of lore reason is those swords are actually not as heavy as you would think because the nocturnes still need to be able to fly while they have them like on their backs. So I don't know like how much it would realistically weigh. As long as I can still swing it through the microwave, then we're good.
As long as you devour your brother, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
You've had practice when you were in full blown like Ezra cosplay at PAX East this year, so you know you're getting there.
Yeah,
With the
that's what I'm
actual-
saying.
Mailboxes
with the actual
beware.
sword.
I'm gonna start wearing it out to like the grocery store and stuff, and just to really get comfortable in it, so that
Oh my god! I can
Who's your favorite
imagine
X-Man?
Tuesday.
I like Cyclops. I don't know. I don't know who I would choose at this point, but as a kid, Cyclops always stood out to me because I thought that lasers were cool.
Not wrong.
That's a loaded question, Steve, because like
Oh, is it?
some of the good ones suck now. Like they were good like years ago, and then they did things that made them not so good anymore.
Like
So-
Toad.
But like there was a whole thing with like, again, sidebar, like because Fox owned the X-Men movie rights,
Mhm.
like Marvel Comics were like trying to like low key bury them and not do shit with them, and made them all weird. So they were sucky for a little bit until they kind of got back underneath the
I remember. I
the
specifically remember
Disney
it.
umbrella.
I specifically remember it getting like pretty big when they came out with like Ultimate X-Men and like Ultimate Spider-Man, like that whole thing in like
Mhm.
04, 05, 06. Like I feel like that was when things kind of took off. But Andy, let's get one more question from you, and then I'll take us home with the final question.
Well, I kind of want to do a quickie this or that segment.
Okay. Welcome
With,
everyone
with
to
Jack.
This or That with Jack Breen.
I'm gonna list a bunch of Metroidvania games. I'm gonna give you two options, this or
Oh.
that. You'll pick the one, and then the winner goes to the next round, and we'll just see.
Oh,
where
I
things
see.
go.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Now this is going by. I did a Google search.
Oh, you took
For
away
the
the
top-
list. Oh man.
The top 100 Metroidvania games.
We're not going to do 100 Metroid.
not gonna go through all of them, dude.
I
I'm gonna pick
saw
up-
the color leave Jack's
I-
face
Yeah.
when you said 100.
I'm not doing
Oh,
100.
I am down to sit here until 2 a.m. and we're gonna go through
Alright.
every game on the list.
All right, we're gonna let's start with like some easy ones, then we'll kind of evolve from there. Symphony of the Night or Super Metroid.
See, I'm a fake Metroidvania fan because I have not finished Symphony of the Night.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
I gotta end the
You
podcast.
you don't have to you don't have to you don't have to
Yeah.
finish Symphony of the Night. It's fine.
We were doing
Um,
so well, Jack.
I know. The only Castlevania game that I have ever played, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, so I've been meaning to play more of them, is Dawn of Sorrow. I really like that one. But that's the only one I've actually like spent any time with.
Okay, that's a good one though.
But I love Super Metroid, so I guess I'll go with that. That's a
Alright.
game I know very well.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Super Metroid
Moves on.
or Dead Cells.
Super Metroid.
Okay.
Super Metroid or Hollow Knight.
That's another game that I have not finished. I've been meaning to. I started Hollow Knight. Okay,
Uh-huh.
like way late. Like I finally bought that game like 2 years ago for the first time ever, and really went into it blind. started playing it, and I've been, Gigasword has completely consumed my schedule for like since the Kickstarter, which was in 2022. So like I really don't have time at this point to like really lean into games. Like I play Rocket League every couple nights, and that's about all I have the time for at this point. So I started playing Hollow Knight, and I immediately came to understand that was a game that was going to require a lot more of my attention and focus than I initially thought. What I played of it, I enjoyed, but a lot, yeah, same thing with Berserk. A lot of people assume that I'm a big Hollow Knight fan, and I've like barely played it.
Yeah, I have also yet to finish that game. I played through almost all of it, then my computer exploded, and I'm currently starting from scratch to finish it right before Silk Song is released. So clearly we're still in Team Super Metroid.
Yeah.
Super Metroid or Ori and the Blind Forest.
Super Metroid, I have not played Ori. I've only heard great things about it, but I've never tried it.
Super Metroid or Guacamelee.
Never played that one either.
I think the Metroidvania guy has to play some more Metroidvanias.
I know.
Super Metroid.
You should have chose Zelda games.
Yeah.
I really should have.
Yeah.
All right. I think no matter where I go at this point, the answer will always be Super Metroid.
Give me one more chance.
Okay, hold on. I got one. Super Metroid or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Radical Rescue.
That ain't a Metroidvania. What are you talking about?
Radical Rescue's
sitting in range on my screen.
Radical Rescue is
Radical Rescue
a Metroidvania.
Is it actually? I've never heard of that. Is that actually like a Ninja Turtles Metroidvania?
He is accurate.
It's
because the turtles themselves are the ability.
Oh, that's what system was
you
this
rescue
on?
them
Game
on
Boy.
the Game Boy.
That's cool.
It's TMNT 3 basically. It's like the third Game Boy Turtles game. And honestly, I didn't even know about it until years ago. Andy and I did a bonus podcast called Retro Game Club. And we also actually it was a segment on our show first, and that was one of the game. We would choose a retro game for the other one to play, and then we would come and talk about it. And he chose Radical Rescue, and I had never heard of it and never played it, and I played it for the first time that time, and it is a really, really good Game Boy Metroidvania. Like, it took me by surprise. But yeah, I think you start as like Michelangelo, and like all the turtles are kidnapped, and you have to like find one, and then it unlocks a thing. You find the other one. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I'm trying to think. Like Leo can like dig into the ground with his sword. Donnie can cling to the walls, like wall climb. I forget what Raph can do, but like they all have unique abilities. So you're always like backtracking to get to new spots in the map. Metroidvania light, but it definitely has like the essence of what we would define as a Metroidvania game.
It's a more of a Metroidvania game than Castlevania for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are straight up just regular ass like
that was just a platforming,
side-scrolly platformers. Yeah,
with terrible hit collision.
Super Metroid or The Messenger.
You're never gonna believe my answer.
Super Metroid. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Super Metroid, but you know what though? Like in all the Metroidvanias, that is, I think, required reading of all these games I'm listing right now, like Guacamelee and so forth. That is like I think the godfather of the genre.
Super Metroid or Simon's Quest?
Ooh.
Is Simon's Quest the second one?
Yeah.
Is that the second Castlevania? Yeah, I think I've played some of that one, but I've certainly never beaten it.
It's a tough game.
Yeah.
I mean, that game
I've heard that that's one of like the most cryptic games of all time.
Well, not by design, it's by poor localization. That's why it's cryptic. I had to write into Nintendo Power as a kid to beat that game.
Yeah.
Because I was stuck. Because the game tells you to bonk your head on a cliff, and you have to like duck while holding a crystal to have a tornado come scoop you up and bring you to some other part of the map.
Mm-hmm.
So There was no way.
Ah, yes, that old gem.
10-year-old me would have been like, "Yep, that's what you got to do."
Yeah.
I actually put the exact same puzzle in Gigasword for you guys, so you can look forward
Oh,
to that.
nice. You got wall carrots. We got
Yeah, we got crystal kneeling. We've got all sorts of stuff.
crystal kneeling tornado teleporters. This is great. This is all good stuff.
Love it. Love it.
Any more, Andy?
I think I'm satisfied.
I am also satisfied, but not as satisfied
Yeah.
as I'm going to be when I get this last answer from you. It's a simple question. A baby can answer it.
It's also this or that.
It is. It is in the this or that theme. The question is, Andy or Steve?
Is this like a marriage situation? Is this like go on a vacation?
Be whatever you want.
I can't choose between you guys. My heart would be forever broken.
How about this? Super Metroid or Andy or Steve?
Oh, okay.
Is it you guys in the form of a brand new Metroidvania?
We actually are a Metroidvania.
Okay.
Yes.
The more you talk to us, the more you unlock.
Yeah.
Useless Teenage
You've
Mutant Ninja
sold
Turtles
me on
knowledge.
the Andy and Steve option, I think.
That's very good. That's Andy. We both get a point in the sheet. Hold on, let me type this
I
up.
love it. And Steve has
Alright,
the
we're in.
tastiest wall carrot you can ever
I do.
imagine.
I do have a delicious wall carrot. It's actually candied. That maple syrup. Delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of DevDive, a conversational podcast. Thank you so much, Jack. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. You have become my absolutely new #1 favorite podcast because of your expertise in Mega Man Legends.
Oh
Hell
my
yeah.
goodness,
Andy, see,
look at us.
I knew it would come in handy one day for you.
Yeah.
All that
You've been
useless knowledge.
You guys
Wasting that
have
for
kept staying in
29
all
and a
these
half
episodes.
years.
If only somebody who liked Mega Man Legends as much as me would come on, and now today is finally the day.
We each had our moment, Andy. I had the Dark Cloud moment, and you now had the Mega Man Legends moment.
We
This
always
is all
find
beautiful thing.
our kindred spirits on the show, Steve.
We do. This is why DevDive is the best podcast on the internet, and you should subscribe and share it with your friends. And of course, follow us on social media. We're at Indie Rift everywhere you go. Jack, where can everybody follow you and Gigasord and all that other fun stuff on the social media?
So I have something very exciting to tell you guys in case you haven't found your way here yet. I have a YouTube channel called Hybrid Plays, where I have not had the time, unfortunately, to upload recently because I've been so busy with Gigasord. But Hybrid Plays is a channel where I do my own deep dives into hidden gem indie games and talk about the design behind them, while also trying to put my own comedic spin on things as often as possible. So if you visit Hybrid Plays and you scroll down and find a video called "The Dishes Are Done," you'll find a video that has nothing to do with game design, in which I am dressed up as a banana and I hit dishes with a baseball bat. So you can go ahead and check that out. But if you're interested in actually learning something, not that you can't learn anything from that, but if you're interested in learning anything about video games, you can watch the rest of the videos on the channel and you can check those out. That the channel is something that I'm looking forward to getting back to once I have some more time back in my life. But any sort of major Gigasord announcements will appear on my YouTube channel. If you want more frequent announcements, you can follow me on Twitter at hybrid_games_. And you can also join the Gigasord Discord server, which there are links to pretty much anywhere where you can find Gigasord. You can find a link to the Discord. So hop over there. You can chat with me directly. I'm happy to answer any questions and laugh at any memes that anybody sends me, and it'll be a good time.
Awesome. And all those links will be in the show notes below, folks. So you can just hit the show description and take a look at there as well.
Double underscore. Was hybrid_games already taken by someone else?
I think it must have been. This was back in 2015 when I made the account, so I would assume that's the reason.
Underscore. That's gonna do it. Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners. And as always, please be excellent to each other.
And wishlist the game, and the demo is out also.
To do that too.
Do that goodness.
So do that. And then be excellent to each other. It's part of the being excellent, actually. Okay, bye.
Be excellent to Jack by doing that.
And remember to eat your wall carrots before bed.
Always.